Welcome to the Mindset Unleashed Today podcast. My name is Tommy Gucciardo, and I'm excited to share my insights and experiences with you to help you shift your mindset and improve your life. Now, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be exploring different areas of life, discussing how to make positive changes. Now, I'll be doing this by interviewing guests who can provide additional perspectives and their experiences. I believe that by making a mindset shift, we can all unleash our full potential and create the lives we want to live. I hope you'll join me on this journey. All right, I want to welcome everybody back to Mindset Unleashed, where we focus on the power of the mind and how it transforms our lives on a daily basis. Today, I got a treat for us today. I got this guest that is totally phenomenal, Natanya Wachtel. Now, she has a corporate background, but now she's doing stuff that she loves and she has a passion for. She helps kids, she helps brands, she helps men, she helps athletes, she helps everyone. And with all these things that she does, she has an app that helps for kids in the Gen Z area. And the thing that attracted me to her right away was that she had to reshape herself because she was clinically dead at one point. She was bedridden and she had to relearn how to walk. That is amazing because that mindset is the mindset that we look for today. And that's how she's so successful in all these other areas of life because she knows how to change that mindset. She knows how to help people. So I introduced Dr. Natanya Wachtel.
Thank you so much. That's quite an intro. And I guess since we're putting it all out there, as we were saying before, wasn't really talking about my own struggles, but I was also 298 pounds.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like night and day.
Yeah. So
All right.
I only said that on the air like a week ago, and I'm trying to get more comfortable with that and not have shame. Because I'm trying to get other people not to carry shame. So, I'm trying not to be a hypocrite, but honestly, it's new for me. I was mostly
We're our hardest critics sometimes.
Yeah, no, it's new for me to like be this revealing to the world, but I found that it was the thing that everyone wanted to talk about. And I was like, but I want to talk about the science and the data. And they're like, yeah, but let's talk about how you did that.
I think people relate to that more. They relate to like being vulnerable and being able to tell you what happened to you, right? Like anybody, listen, I'm not knocking science and I'm not knocking numbers, but we could all talk numbers all day long, right? What do you bring to the table, behind those numbers? Like you're everything. You lost weight. That takes a big feat, 298 to where you are right now. Relearning how to walk, being clinically dead. Those are things that most people can't come back from. And you came back from like 3 major things. So that's a mindset and that's fortitude. And I want to hear about that. I know that, but I know you have a lot of other stuff that are really important, like, so, talking about let's talk about the app that you have. You have a phenomenal app that helps kids.
So it's called Evermore, EVRMORE.io. And was created by an incredible woman named Ivy Michaud. And I actually came on initially as an advisor, but she and I worked together and were friends. And then I kind of kept sidling up, like, do you want help with this? Can I do the youth program? That. And she's like, do you want to just do this with me? And we were in the early stages. So I'm really thankful to her for welcoming me into the space to help this grow. And we still are looking to grow further and looking to get adopted, hint, hint, to anyone listening. But we have quite a bit of interest from some really, really great organizations. And we really try to be authentic with Gen Z. And we were talking about that a little before, right? Like the AI that's behind some of the analytics around what we're doing. It's it's like a voice journal, right? You talk to it. And when you talk, you're less likely to edit yourself like you would in a text or writing. And it's trying to get the natural way people speak and the way they feel about themselves and things to help guide them through to something better that they are going towards. It's not therapy. It's not a diagnostic. We are built on 8 dimensions of psychological paradigms that help with anxiety and depression lowering. We can detect self-harm. We can detect, unfortunately, a desire to harm others, like externally. So, like in school situations, that would be good to know, sort of before something goes down, what's going on with someone. But again, like I was telling you, you have to understand that the way the Gen Z folks speak is a little differently than Gen X and boomers and above, and even millennials potentially. So I was saying, so instead of like, there's a lot of sarcasm, and you have to
Right.
train the AI to listen to, oh, you're really funny. Nah, bitch, I'm depressed. Like you have to flow with the way it's natural. Most of the psychological intake forms, for example, in mental health, they're old and they're written with a
Right.
language that doesn't relate. And so I've heard so many young people say they just kind of fill the box, whatever. Like they write what they think the therapist wants to hear or is going to make their parents happy. And we really want it to be real. We really
Right.
want and s yeah, so that's what it's sort of different, and it has some game theory in the stack, and it's really about possibility development and, like, the future that you want. Go towards that rather than all the things that are wrong that you feel wrong about now and swirling about that in a negative way.
So you said it's AI driven and you're actually talking to it and it picks up your tone and it picks up. Wow, that's amazing. It's amazing what could happen out there. Everybody's different and Gen Zs talk different than us and then so we could be talking to them and not understanding what they're saying.
And also that, like, they were born into tech, and so it's a very unique generation, and I'm old. I'm in a funny stage where I have Gen Z children and Gen Alpha children, and I can tell you it's already different. COVID is different, the access to tech and how they use it is different in terms of what's in school, and so for the Gen Zs, there was tech all along, but social came, when they were in their formative years, like social media and that kind of stuff, and I think, if we think back to our childhood or, above, like, how many Tommies did you have to be? Like maybe you had home, maybe you had church or synagogue or what have you. Maybe you had your buddies, maybe you had like how many U's you have to be was like a few. But now the kids are like, well, this is my Instagram me and this is my other, fake account me and this is and this is my school me, and this is my sports me, and this is my and everything is curated and analyzed and value placed on everything you do based on how many people click a heart or a thumbs up or a thumbs down or write you a nasty message. And we didn't have that. So we were willfully oblivious and happily oblivious to what most people thought about us, unless they said it to your face.
No, you're right, you're right. And now these kids have to, they get somebody doesn't like a picture and it's like they go into a depression.
It's a personal extension of self because they have less of what we had with real people. They have less of that feedback with real people, with nature, with all that stuff. The hippie in me could go on and on. So I think it's really needed. And I noticed that they also actually do less talking, like talking on the telephone, right? As a telephone, that thing that we used to do all the time. Yeah. So this is another. Right, I mean, that was a thing. Sometimes, the boy you liked had to talk to your parents first, all that horrible stuff, but, like, you had to navigate it and deal with people and express yourself in that way, and now the way that school is online, there's so much that they don't actually get to use their voice. So that's kinda why we did that. I'm trying to, truncate something really, really big into a really small window here, but thank you for talking about that. The other thing is it was, created with Gen Z in mind, but when we went through, the initial incubation with the Melinda Gates program with an incubator and, through that time and getting permission for young people, a lot of adults, the parents of the kids were like, "This is really cool. Can I do it?" And we're like, "Yeah, sure." Like, it's really for anyone. It was
So
designed with
so
that
does
in
it
mind.
understand the difference?
Yeah,
Does
no
it understand the
yeah, I
difference?
mean, it works. I think it's because we're in a different way of speaking, all of us too, we're sort of moving into that. I'm just saying it's tailored to that more so it can understand the Gen Z mindset, but it's really all of us. It's really, um,
That's great.
you know, anyone can benefit from a little bit of shift in perspective that makes you feel a little bit better about yourself because your ability to feel about better about the world or your place in the world starts from, within here.
Right. So I want to shift a little bit here, and I know you came from a corporate background, so you're used to being around the high profile type people, high performance type people. How do you how do you do, like, do you have a different way you talk to them and how you deal with them? Like, what is your,
That's funny you say that. So I mean, I used to, but I was never really good at behaving myself all the time. I mean, I would do what I had to do, um, to fit in, and in pharma, corporate, it is pretty, conservative minded, and I don't mean politically conservative. I mean, sort of black suit, brown suit, blue suit, wear your hair pinned, and, don't talk too loud, don't say too much, don't question authority, don't, say the emperor's naked, if you will. And it never made sense to me, and also, it seemed like a lot of wasted time, like, I was, always doing, like, 100 projects because, like, I felt like it was very slow moving, and I understand why. There's a lot of layers and a lot of lift we were doing to change whole communities or countries in terms of healthcare solutions or treatments, I understand that, but, I just found myself really being pulled into the independent and more like medical tech, like startups in healthcare and life sciences rather than corporate. But again, we still do some work there and have a lot of respect there for a lot of the companies that are really trying to do good in the world. And but what was interesting to me personally was that after working with a pretty senior leadership person for maybe 6 months, 9 months, a year, 3 years, um, on their brands, on the commercialization of their products, on the programs that we would make for patients or clinicians to kind of move through whatever they needed to, whether it's like diabetes and you need like a wellness program, or it's HIV and you need, special resources, or a lot, in oncology and cancer, whatever it may be. And then, of course, mental health is a big one I was in. Getting the brand out there, sure, getting people to understand what it's for, getting clinicians to want to prescribe it, all that kind of stuff, but in the ethical way. But I found myself stuck in airports with people, and all of a sudden, they're, like, sharing personal stuff. And I would be clear to be like, "I am not a licensed therapist. I'm not currently a licensed therapist. I'm not a medical doctor. I'm just someone who's studied a lot of psych and, is a behavioral scientist and marketer, really, right?" But I try and see people for who they are and don't judge. And I know, and, so these C-suite folks were confiding in me big stuff. And it wasn't like part of my job. It was just like what was happening. And through that, I would listen. And again, I'm not trying to say I healed them, but I will say I did help them, and they felt that I felt them from, being someone that they could talk to, and then sort of mirroring back to them some things I said, well, this is what's helped me. Or have you heard of this kind of thing? Or I know some people who have
right.
tried this modality or treatment, or hey, whatever it is, it's different for everyone. And again, it's sort of amateur. I wanna be very clear. I'm not, taking insurance and whatever. I'm just being a friend, I guess, to my client, and it was very
Right.
strange, and I was like,
And sometimes that's the most important thing, just being a friend and just having a, a shoulder or an ear to, for somebody to listen to or cry on.
"Yeah,
And that, and you could relate to that because 'cause you're in that industry or that field, and it makes them feel a little more comfortable
yeah,
with
I
you.
think I had to earn their trust and respect by doing, some
Right.
math and helping make money." And then they were like, "Okay, you're cool," right, kinda thing, like, and
Right.
then they started being the personal, and then what happened was, and the reason we're even talking about this is why I shifted sort of the way I focus some of my business, because it was sort of accidental. Um, they wanted to, like, hire me independently, and or would refer me to friends of theirs, and it was sort of like a whisper campaign, because, like, you didn't wanna tell anybody, but they were like, "Oh, and then I would get, like, almost like it was some kind of, CIA extraction protocol here, like, "The eagle has landed and come," and I would, I had to be cool because we're talking all walks of life. I'm talking, billionaires, celebrities, mafioso people, like everybody from all walks of life started reaching out to me. At first, I thought it was fake. I was like, "Wait, what? What is happening?" And they wanted to know what I charge, and I'm like, For what?" Like, it was very strange.
To listen to you, to talk to you, right?
Yeah, and so I started saying, for the very wealthy people, I started saying a big number, and they were like, "Okay." I was like, "Okay."
Hey, listen, if it works, it
And I
works,
don't
right?
promise, those things. On the business side, on commercialization side, we will sort of guarantee some sort of impact that you can measure, right? Your brand growth by
Right.
this and market.
Like on your brand reach and stuff like
Yeah,
that,
of
you there's
course, of
some
course.
you have some deliverables that you can manage, you know how
Exactly.
many, ads you can put up or
Ex
where you can get them to, you know?
exactly.
But helping somebody on the mental side or on the mindset side, there's you can't guarantee somebody's gonna be better. They have to put in the work.
Exactly. So the only thing I guarantee is if you believe it, it's possible for you to have the life you desire. If you believe you
Right,
deserve the life you desire, then I can help you manifest that or whatever you wanna call it, make that for
right,
yourself because I'm just unlocking the stuff that's already within you. That's how I look at it.
right.
And,
Okay,
that's what that is all about, but it's, the thing that's important about it isn't the celebrities and the C-suite and the what have you. I think it's great, but the reason I care about it and started to lean in is I make a contract with them about what are you gonna do when you feel better? Because most of them have a lot of
right.
em
So you make them
most of
accountable.
them have a lot of employees. And so we talk about what
Right,
they're gonna do for the people that work for them. We look at their leave
great.
policy, their wellness programs, you understand what I'm not just taking money to help rich people.
Right.
I'm looking
You
to
start at
help.
the top and you're incorporating into other people's
That's
lives.
the point, exactly.
So you make somebody's life better and that they pay it forward to somebody
That's
else,
exactly right. So
you know?
that's that.
That's great. That's great. And I know we talked about this earlier, and I just, you kind of intrigued me a little bit about we were talking about the psychedelics and how you so tell me about the psychedelics and how it helps people in recovery or how
Yeah,
it helps
yeah, because
people
you
in
were like,
general.
"Well, I'm sober. I don't know if that works. That's for me." And I said, "Well, let's start with, like, a definition of what I'm talking about and why I got
Right,
interested in it," I guess, would help, I think, not because of me, but just to get people to see, like, it was a bridge of a new world for me as well. And it was that I was doing a lot of research a lot of times before you launch, a brand, especially a pharmaceutical brand, you do a lot of research or you synthesize a lot of research and you talk with all the customers and you understand the market, right? And so working in PTSD and depression and major depressive disorder and schizophrenia and bipolar, the last couple years, I was doing a lot of research and my teams were bringing me all these references to studies in psychedelics. My personal area of like focus has been more now psilocybin, which is the mushroom, the fungi, but all of them, MDMA, ketamine, even LSD. And I was like, wait, what? And I was telling you that like at first I was like, I didn't even want to tell anybody I was looking into that because I had this concern about stigma, like I'll be affiliated with drugs. And then, a girlfriend said to me, well, you were affiliated with drugs for 20 something years just because they have brand names in pharma. Like, get over yourself, And I was like, okay, that's true. Like, whatever. And also, who cares? Like um, I'm not advocating people take things that are illegal. There are things that are in what we call Schedule 1, so they're federally not legal. Some of the compounds, some of them are. Some of that is changing because that happened in the 80s and it was sort of indiscriminate and crazy that something that grows in your backyard and has been eaten by cultures for thousands of years and used in healing all over the globe currently, and there's tons of data on it. You're not allowed to have it. I openly say I don't think that's okay. But I do think I use my analogy a lot of fire. I do think these things are powerful, but they are dangerous. They are not it's not something you just mess with. I'm not talking about trips. I'm talking about restructuring your brain chemistry so that you can rewire your triggers so that addiction impulses can go away, basically. So depression, depths of depression will not even be on the path from potentially like a negative event in your life and you don't go back down in, right? So that's the reason these medications fascinated me. They are powerful, but they are serious and they need to be, is my opinion, looked at carefully and following. There's a lot of trials you can join. There are other things like there is ketamine at home companies that will, work with you, but they all have a component of talk therapy, of readiness, of meditation. It's not just about putting it in your mouth. It's about getting yourself ready for what you want to deal with and why. And it could be some big stuff, right? And then afterwards, processing what you just went through to then help you integrate into a new way of being. And that's not a joke. So, like fire, it can burn you or it can cook your food. It can warm you, or it can be used as a weapon. So I just wanna say, like, I advocate for these things, but with caution and with respect for right now in this country, some of the regulations that it's a little bit restricted on which ones you can use and in what capacity. Mind Bloom, okay? Mind Bloom is a
Right.
ketamine at home low dose company where you start they don't accept everyone, so you have to go through, like, a screening process where they, assess you. You have to give in your medical data. They wanna make sure it's safe because
Hmm.
you're doing it. You have to have proof that you're gonna have someone with you when you do it, and, they walk you through a process of taking a really low dose, and you pick a meditation and what you wanna work on, you listen to it. It's like, I think, 15 minutes or an hour. It's not like a long period of time, and then you talk with them,
Right.
and it kinda guides you through that. There's some, in-person ketamine clinics. I know of one specifically because my girlfriend, who was a pediatrician, left traditional medicine, and she works there in Miami, and they have another office in New York. So ketamine is legal. There's a lot of new data with how that's working, specifically for depression and or addiction, some of these, and PTSD, which all of these are kind of tied to each other.
Tied into each other, right?
Most people, whether you have the diagnosis or not, I think intuitively we know if something's off in that way, it's off in all the ways a little bit, right? Because
Right.
when you have addiction of whatever, food, alcohol, heroin, I don't care what it is. If you're when you're in your conscious state of being able to realize it, you usually feel a lot of shame and guilt, and then
Right.
that can make the so they all kinda go
That puts you into that
thing, and
depression,
then, "Well,
right?
I'm already this, so I might as well," and it kind of becomes, this sort of snake eating.
Yeah, they all go hand in hand. You're right. They all do go hand in hand.
So they all it works differently in the brain, but basically and these compounds work a little differently in the brain. The psilocybin, the one that I'm, the most passionate about because I've done the most research there and, study it, I guess, the most, it's natural. It's a fungus, that grows and our species has been eating for years. In fact, some people credit the development and the rapid development of the back of the brain in that little bump there, the occipital bun, for a time when we were in an area, we Homo sapiens sapiens were in an area eating this a lot, and it was, tool
Right.
making evolved, like, basically, because it gives you another way of perceiving this reality, honestly, you can problem solve differently. Something like, "This person is
Mhm.
bad," or "I was hurt because of this," or, "I was shot," or "I shot someone," or "I was raped," or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. I mean, it matters, but it doesn't matter, like, the what is the trauma, but it helps you reframe it in a way to put it out of your definition of self and to not hold any shame or guilt or what have you, and redefine the you that you are from today forward, from that time forward, and that's powerful. So that's why I'm really curious
Right.
about those, and I think for a lot of people, especially, like, the veterans, soldiers in PTSD, um, it's heartbreaking that, a hero who went to dedicate their lives to fight for you and me and strangers, risking their own life, comes back from an experience and can't function, and we
Right.
can't help them. That's not
We can't
that's
help. We
not
have
okay,
nothing for
right?
them.
And I'm not trashing
No,
the
it's not
government.
okay.
I'm not going there right now.
No, no, I get it, but it's just not okay. It's not
It's
a
not
good
enough.
thing,
It's not
these
enough.
people, they go fight for you and they go give their life and, they come home and, there's nothing for them, and it's sad. It's sad to see that.
Yeah, so that was part of
And
what moved me to be like, "Let me look into this more." You can't.
and I th the one that you were talking about, is that like an over the counter? Is
Oh,
it
no, no,
FDA
no, 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 no,
approved?
no. So, I wasn't, like, fully prepared with notes, so bear with me, but there's, another compound called MDMA, and
Mhm.
basically, there's clinical trials and new data that approves some of these for use, but, through a clinician or a treatment facility, and then other ones and I should be very clear, in America. In Canada, much of this is already legal and used in a regular doctor's office or a psychiatrist's office, or you know what I'm
Gotcha,
saying? So,
gotcha.
every country has different rules about these
Of
compounds.
course.
So I wanna say that, I'm not saying go to another country and do it, but also
No, no.
many people. But I wanna be clear, like, people are doing that. They're going on retreats and they're going to try these ancient medicines, if you will, like ayahuasca or psilocybin or what have you, and have this experience, um, almost akin to the way, native peoples or people in the East, sort of almost as a religious experience. But I don't mean religion to be sacrilegious to Jesus or Buddha or Allah or whatever you believe in. I mean more as honoring it as special and not as I wanna have a trip. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I wanna heal, so I wanna go deep in and see what is keeping me in this dark place, and I wanna release it, and that's what I mean. So they
I mean, I get the logic behind it. I get the logic behind it. I just, for me, I don't know if I could do something like that, but I do get the logic behind it. And I see, like you said, this stuff has been around for years and generations, and, you know,
it actually has
people have been
side
eating it.
effects than a lot of pharmaceutical products. It
Really?
doesn't stay in your body, it doesn't affect other organs because it's from nature.
No, I get it. I get it. I'm interested. I'm going to look into this. It's something that I'm definitely going to look into. You piqued my interest.
Mhm. I mean, it's scary too
So,
because it's like, "Wait, I can be reprogrammed?" I mean, there's a lot of
yeah, that's the
well, I
scary
was gonna
part.
say,
That's
so you heard of, like, MK Ultra with LSD and this so there's, like, with great power comes great responsibility, right? What is that, Marvel? So, it
yeah,
is
yeah.
true. So, the government's looking at this in a lot of ways too, because just like other psychological techniques that are breakthroughs in terms of how they're able to kinda decode dreams or, instead of lobotomies, we do different kinds of electronic stimulation to help this
Right,
electrical box fire better under the guise of this material world that we need to move through, and ideally, we move through it without hurting ourselves or hurting others. Imagine? That's the
right.
basic goal.
No, that's great. That's phenomenal. That's definitely phenomenal, you know? But, yeah, I mean, you're definitely, you have a lot of information. You have your hand in a lot of different things from Gen Z to the veterans to corporate America, and I think this all comes from you internally, getting over your stuff and getting over your traumas and your situations, and you're able to, help other people. And that's beautiful. That's just, it's great to see people like you out there helping other people. And yeah, you're doing it as a business, yes, but you could see the other part of you. You could see that you legitimately care and you legitimately want people to get better and grow. And you know, that's a beautiful thing. That's a
I
beautiful
do.
thing. And I
I
appreciate.
really do, and thank you. And we were saying before, like, what did I say? Girl Scout adjacent. Like,
Yeah,
we've all been and done things we're not proud of. Um,
right.
and some of them are on one side of the law or another. Some of them are words or deeds, like, we could focus on that, or we could focus
But
on
those things don't define you. They don't
that's what I
define you.
start with,
They're
right?
just,
'Cause I'm just begging for the world to accept me as the me that I am today. I literally, like, lost my
right,
mind, like, I
right,
don't even remember things because I was so in a place of anger and not dealing with things, but also acting like everything was fine. Like,
right.
totally fine.
Hey, listen,
Fine, it's fine, it's fine.
you
It
know
was not fine.
yeah, I mean, I was the king of that. I was always, I was a train wreck internally. You know, everything was going wrong. Knowing I was getting arrested, knowing I was going to jail. I was using drugs. My wife at the time was leaving me. You know, but anybody asks, how are you doing? I'm doing phenomenal.
Exactly.
I'm great. But I wasn't, and it's good that you go to like a person like you could have somebody to lean on and talk about things and get things out, and we become only as sick as our secrets, right? So if we keep these things in us, we're not going to get better, right, in life. And that is, that is so important. And
Well said.
I don't use, like for me, all those things that happened to me, they happen to me for a reason because they're making me who I am today. Just like you, all those things that happen to you help you to be who you are today. And I'm glad that you're in my life now. I'm glad I met you because I learned a lot from you today, and I know my audience is going to really appreciate this because you have a lot of good information. And before we leave, why don't you just tell them where to find you and how to get in touch with you?
Okay, thank you so much for having me today. Thank you for those kind words. It was a lot. It was a lot to stuff into a little bit of time. And so I would like to
Hmm.
end with something really quick. And then where you can find me is if you can spell my name, you can find me. So I say remember Natanya Lasagna. Say it 3 times fast, and then eventually there's some other Natanyas. There's not that many.
Right.
So but I will say, the reason it's all walks of life that I've been sort of falling into these worlds, like with the athletes and this fintech bros and the youth, and because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter these labels that
Hmm.
make this person different than that person. And I'm very, very thankful that I get invited in these spaces that are like kind of conventionally completely ridiculous for me to be in. But people understand that like I want to be here and I want you to be here and I want, everyone to be here feeling good. I mean, I feel like we said this
Mm.
before, right? But I think we, like, forgot as a species, we're supposed to be happy. We're supposed to feel good. And all the material things, whether they be financial or health or otherwise, um, there are things we can do to affect change. And believing that is just like the first step. And then you will see the world open up. And I just hope that anyone listening, if you're in a dark way, I just need to put this out there. If you have thoughts of self harm, to please know that we have a national suicide line that you can call. It's 988. There are places you can go for free, anonymously. And I encourage you to just have a conversation, because you matter, everyone matters, and your story doesn't have to be done yet. The next chapter is there for you.
Oh, that was phenomenal. You hit the nail right on the head. That was perfect. Perfect way to end. Perfect way to end. All right. Once again, thank you for coming here today. Thank you for being on the show. Um, it was an honor to have you. It was a pleasure. And once again, like you could see, if you put your mind to anything, you could achieve anything. So just keep on putting your mind to stuff, put one foot in front of the other, and you'll get to your goals. Thank you for coming, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you so much.